So just a recap of the cliffhanger from last video. If I added a person here, let me just try and do it here using store data. I'll add John. Now John should be stored in the database, right? Remember, every time I do something here, I'll actually send a request to the backend, right? We talked about that earlier. So the MVC application gets a request whenever I do a call here. Now going back and doing another request, John's not there. Where did he go? He's disappeared. Well, every time you do a request, you also have to understand that you will actually destroy your controller and create a new one. So what's actually going on here? Let me show you. Every time that I do a request, every time that I call here saying I want to get all the persons, a new controller is created. So let's go back and now let's try and say, well, I want to start John now again. A new controller is created. So persons is going to be recreated. So now the persons has John and Lars, and if I scroll down, they also have Bob. It has 3 guys in the list now, right? But here's the problem. Let's go in now and call person to get the list of all the persons. Now it's only Lars and Bob coming back. What? What happened? Where did John go? Well, you just recreated the controller, recreated your list. He's gone. I tried to show it like this. Inside memory in your computer, you have a persons list, this list. And then the first time you make a call, he's created, 2 persons are added, right? Now you go out and you say, I want to add John. Now you're getting a new persons list in memory, pointing in the second controller because a new controller was just created. And in that one, John is added. So now John is here. John is added. I can't write it. Let me just job it because I want to show you here. So now John is added. John added. And it looks all fine. In persons list 2, John is available. Now I go back and press the index because I want to see all the guys available again. But now a new controller is created again and John has been removed again. Because now I'm recreating the list here with only Lars and Bob. So that's the problem, right? But we can solve the problem very simply now by actually fixing or making a small hack, because this is not how we're going to do it in the final project. That will be stored in a database instead of in memory. But by adding the static keyword, what I'm actually doing is I'm saying, even though you create a new person controller, you should still point to persons list number 1, the first list that we ever created. So it's going to end up, instead of pointing here to a new persons list, this guy is actually going to point to the same one all the time, like this. So it will add a new persons list, but John will actually be added to persons list number 1. Then John is not removed anymore. And that's by adding the static keyword. So what the static keyword means is that in memory, even though you've created a new persons list, this guy, the static keyword means I'm going to point to the same persons list whenever I'm adding a new controller. Even though I'm adding a new controller, I'll still point to the same persons list. What it also means is I will not override. The new keyword will not matter anymore. It'll only matter the first time. When I create the first list, the new keyword will matter, but after that it won't matter, so this just won't be executed. So now that the guy that I add, John, he will actually be added to the same list that I created in the first time that I created a persons list. I hope that makes sense. So this code will actually fix it. But as I just said, I'll never override this guy, so I might as well just make it read-only. So what ReSharper is telling me, maybe you should make this guy read-only. So I control dot and it says, let's make it read-only. I'll say, okay, let's do that. Another thing it says, when a thing is static and read-only, underscore persons doesn't make sense anymore. You should rename it to something else. Okay, I'll rename it to persons. There we go. Automatically it renames it all the way where I'm using it behind the code here. So here it's renamed and here it's renamed automatically. So I don't have to do that manually. I really encourage you to use ReSharper for stuff like this, just to get going with the naming conventions and the different standards that it recommends. So now everything should be running. So now I'm using the static setup instead of the non-static setup, meaning that in memory it'll actually point to the same person all the time, even though I recreate the controller. I'm still making a new controller every time, but it just references the single first person's list that I created. Let's see if it runs. So the application is up and running, and we have our 2 persons here. Let's try to store data with a new guy here. There we go, and then let's show it. Now the reason I'm showing you guys this is just if you get lost there, you can use a static one. Of course, We will not use just in-memory lists. We will start storing data in the database later on, but right now it's just an easy fix to get going with just a basic understanding of how to store data. I also add Gurli here now and just see if she's also available. There we go now. So you can see my list can grow now because it's a static list and we're pointing at the same reference in memory even though we create a new list every time we make a request. It's still just referencing the same place in memory. It cannot be overwritten because it's static, so it'll just add to the already living list in there. That was all for this lesson. I just wanted to show you that. See you in the next lesson where we'll just keep building on this.